Good morning, my friends. Hope you guys are doing good today. And if you are new, this is the AM devotion with me, Beau, the Devo with Beau. I grew up as a Generation X child out in Southern California, so I remember the band Devo. But this Devo means devotion. If you've ever done devotions before, then you know what I'm talking about. If you've never done them before, then this might be new to you, just going through the biblical text, the Bible, and I'm kind of commenting on it as I go. Now, I grew up without the Bible, so meaning I didn't read the Bible, I didn't know people that read the Bible, I wasn't around the Bible. It wasn't a part of my life. God wasn't a part of my life at all. I was very just an atheistic kid, just a very secular kid, very humanistic kid in philosophy, and never did devotions. It really wasn't until my dad recovered from alcoholism through AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, that I remember him carrying these little books around. And he did these little devotions where he read them. They were per day. So every day would be like another devotion. And that really kind of played a part in my mind growing up. I was a teenager and I would see him with these little books. And I thought, man, that's so cool that, he just kind of working on himself, working on, where his heart is and where his mind is. And how many people just start a day where they just kind of hit the ground running, right? They get up and they go, and they're not really thinking much about anything other than what's in a day for them, what's on their calendar, so to speak. Well, through my dad, I kind of learned that there's another way to go about it, and that's a way to kind of work on your mind and work on what's on your mind. And work on a conscious relationship with God. And that blew my mind. And then I started reading the Bible, not because of my dad. My dad was not into the Bible. But I started reading the Bible because I hated Christians. I thought Christians were lame and didn't understand it. So one day I actually wanted to pick up the Bible and read it and see what it was all about. Why does Bob Marley have an album called Exodus? And why, does Metallica write songs like Creeping Death that talk about a guy named Pharaoh? Where is this all coming from? And so I wanted to read the Bible. And so anyway, let's check it out. Hey, Craig, hey, Laura, hope you guys are well. I'm a little early today, right? It's 8:37. So yesterday I had a B-day, and that was cool. Thank you for the birthday wishes. And so I took the day off of going into the office. Today I'm going to go into the office, and I'll probably have a busy day, I'm sure. And so I wanted to get in the Word a little early today. So here we are. Okay. So I'm going to start the book of Exodus today. We got through the long 50 chapters of Genesis, and that was really cool. And Exodus is a continuation of the narrative. So we read this. These are the names of the sons of Israel, that is Jacob, who moved to Egypt with his father, each with his family. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. In all, Jacob had 70 descendants in Egypt, including Joseph, who was already there. Remember, he's the politician. He's the guy. He's the administrator of the Pharaoh's kingdom. It says, in time, Joseph and all of his brothers died, ending that entire generation. But their descendants, the Israelites, had many children and grandchildren. In fact, they multiplied so greatly that they became extremely powerful and filled the land. Now, I find a couple things here. One of them is just the idea of generation. One generation comes, one generation goes. And that's just how it is. I'm here now, but I'm not going to be here at some point. It's going to be a totally different generation. And they're going to think differently, and they're going to, things are going to change. And that's just how it's going to go. And notice I also see another interesting kind of idea here in this section. And that is, there is, with the multiplication of population of a group of people, there is power. There is a potential for power. Meaning the more people you have of a particular group, they're gonna, they'll have, they'll be the majority. And that majority will, in a sense, have some power, or have a potential to have some power. Because in order to have some power, you have to, first of all, be present. You have to be functional. And you got to be able to kind of spread through the community, so to speak. And so there's something, we even work with this today, or we even have to deal with this today in our world. And it's always been this way, that as populations grow, power, there's a potential for power. The power dynamic can change as a particular way of thinking grows, a particular maybe ethnicity grows, and that has a potential to have an impact on a population. And so you see that what goes on today and the way people talk today, I don't know if we want those people here, because those people, if there's too many of those people, then they're going to rule. Well, I get it. Yep, that's how it is. But that's how it's always been. Meaning, guess what we're doing? You know what I mean? Meaning, look in the mirror, man. It's like, whoa, what have we done? Well, more of us start coming over, right? More people start entering in, and, you start becoming more dominant, And, that's how it can be. And, some of us don't know what it's like to be a minority at all. Like, you don't know what it's like to be kind of an outcast, where people look at you and you're different. A lot of people have never experienced that because they've been in the majority the whole time. I must say that I've kind of been fortunate in that there's some ways in which I've been a minority. And that's kind of helped me, I think, see this perspective. Not only was I a kid growing up in a Latin community, and I am a French-Canadian guy with like English blood in me too, and I think some other stuff going on. But one side is full French-Canadian. And so I have a lot of that in me. And you noticed I'm pretty light-skinned, right? I don't have a Mexican background. And growing up in North Hollywood as a kid, I kind of assumed I thought I was Mexican. And it wasn't until I got a little older that I realized that, oh boy, nope, I'm a hockey loving, French Canadian background guy. And, it's kind of funny. But then I moved to a small island of Hawaii in my teenage years. And I really was, different. and I was even called a different name. I wasn't called by my first name on the island. I was called a particular byword by everybody, children, grandmothers, people in the stores, and they just called me a name, and and that was it. I didn't, argue it or nothing, and never would, argue that. It just was what it was. So this issue has always been around, where you see a population growth and issues taking place in a society, and people being maybe blacked out, ostracized, kicked out, as populations grow of a particular group of people, groups of people, that kind of thing. So I see that's kind of very relevant to our day as well. And I just got to be careful, I think, in my heart, that when I think of my walk with God, I deal with some of the prejudice. Have I had comments? Have I said comments that are prejudice comments that really I didn't think they were prejudice at the time. I said it, but really, I just wasn't looking in the mirror. I didn't realize that, I was doing exactly what I'm claiming other people are doing. They're going to take over. They're going to take over. They're going to take over. Yeah, well, what did we do? We took over. What did they do before that? What people took over. And who took over? It's probably the more dominant populated group of people, the majority. So anyway, I find that I always love it when the Bible has like relevant things to it, things that kind of speak to our day as well. It just reminds me that the Bible is very cohesive and it's competent, and don't take that for granted. There are religious texts out there that are not cohesive and they're not competent. I'm not going to mention them, but yeah, you can read the sources. Eventually, a new king came to power in Egypt who knew nothing of Joseph or what he had done. People aren't going to remember what I've done. People aren't going to remember what you've done. What we do, it's coming and going, right? Read the book of Ecclesiastes. But what the Lord does, through us last forever. What the Lord does through us, his work in us is going to be an eternal work. I would imagine this is why the Bible stresses have no confidence in the flesh, because when we think we look at our great accomplishments, it's like, everybody's talking about Taylor Swift right now, and she's going to get married, and it's going to be this huge wedding at this giant thing. You can have the biggest wedding or the smallest wedding in the world. It's not going to be remembered. It's not going to have any impact in the long run. Do you remember how big the Pharaoh's weddings were back in the day? Do I remember what the kings of England were like? Was I there? No. Do I know what it's like? No. Have I ever seen it? No. Do I know the people? No, they're forgotten. It's all forgotten. That's why it is vanity to not serve God on this planet. It's absolute vanity, because it's all going to go away. You're going to go away, and all my works with it, whatever I do, are going to go away. I need something eternal, something more greater than the temporal. And what we see here is just a temporal, everything's temporal. I want to look to the eternal. I want to have a mind that's looking to the eternal. Doesn't that sound like some New Testament passages? Right? To fix our eyes on Jesus, the eternal. Right? That the things that we see here are passing. But there is an unseen that is eternal. That's what we want to be about. That's what I want to get my mind on today. And it says, he said to his people, "Look, the people of Israel now outnumber us and are stronger than we are. We must make our plan to keep them from growing even more. If we don't, and if war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us, and then we will escape. Then they will escape from the country." So, political paranoia. Do we live in days of political paranoia? This is going to grow, these people are going to grow, and then they're going to outnumber us, and then war's going to break out, and they're going to turn on us. Do you see the same rhetoric, the same things are said today, even in the Christian community? And a lot of times we just don't see that we're doing exactly what the politicians of Egypt were doing back in this day as well. Those Hebrews, those foreigners, they're going to grow, and they are growing, and they're growing so much that they're going to take over. And then when, the political, when we go to war and we have enemies, they're going to join the enemies, and they're going to come against us. And they're going to go. They're going to escape from the country. They're going to, they're going to do their thing, whatever, but they're going to be against us. I mean, this is happening right now in our world. It would be weird to see how many Christian churches, how many leaders say things that are very much like the Pharaoh, very much like the Egyptian politicians. And that they'd say, hey, we got to be careful of these people. They're going to grow, and then they're going to turn against our country, and, that kind of thing. And then they're going to turn against our country, and they're going to turn against our country, and they're going to turn against our country. And, all this. They're going to grow. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, huh? It's like, boy, maybe we're a little more like the Pharaoh than we think, and that's kind of scary, right? But true. The human condition is been consistent throughout the millennias, whatever, from time to time to, from way back in history all the way to here, the human condition is still very much filled with envy and strife and jealousies, and we can't seem to see the plank, in our eye. So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves, out of fear, out of oppression. How can I put people in bondage so that we can control them? Do you see what's happening? Egypt is needing to control a population. How do they do that? Economically. Make them poor, right? Put them as people that need to work for you. They have to continually work for you. They don't have any more the luxury of freedom, the luxury of roaming around. Instead, they need money. Isn't that great? It's like, what does a government do? You start making too much money. It's called inflation, right? Puts everybody right back into the work mode. Just when you think you're getting ahead, what happens? Everything goes up. And then your dollar is cut in half. Now you can't have the freedom that you had. You can't have, because what happens if you have freedom, if you have that true ability to do what you want to do, then you're not going to be able to do what they want you to do, what people in power want you to do. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it's always a manipulative game. One of power, ruling over. Do you think that that's changed today? Do you think we live in a day where people do not want to rule over you or over me? And that somehow today's different? I don't think so. It says they forced them to build cities of Pithom, of Ramses, and supply centers for the king. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread. So even though they tried to put them into, this work bondage, making them suffer by making them just poor, putting them into these, financial chains, they just continued to procreate. So the Egyptians worked the people of Israel without mercy. So they were obeying the be fruitful and multiply, and they were growing continually. So the Egyptians put more strain on them, and they had no mercy on them. They made their lives bitter, forcing them to mix mortar and bricks and do all the work in the fields. They were ruthless in all their demands. They put them into a workforce and put them in jobs that were the worst kind of jobs you can have, but kept them there, would not let them progress, would not let them go anywhere. They became slaves. Is this an attitude that I have, with people? Do I want to make them slaves? Do I want to keep them in their place so that I can have more power over them? Because then it brings about a potential to really look at your heart and be like, oh man, do I see something in there that is very, very evil? Instead of loving your neighbor, I find a despising my neighbor. Do I really want people to potentially gain power in the job, in the workforce, that they might now have more power than me? Is that something that's scary to us? Yeah, very relevant, right? So then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave this order to the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah. When you help the Hebrew women as they give birth, watch as they deliver. If there's a baby boy, kill him. If it is a girl, let her live. But because the midwives feared God, they refused to obey the king's order. They allowed the boys to live too. Now, there's no doubt Joseph, in his long tenure of being a politician in Egypt, there's no doubt his relationship with the true and living God spread. And the Egyptian midwives certainly did not want to obey the political party of Pharaoh to kill these baby boys that were Hebrew. And this is obviously something that goes on today as well too. I just put on, I saw on my news feed or something, there was something that was said by a politician in the Middle East. And it had something to do with Israel, being the kind of the people that need to be dealt with, And, it's like, I wonder if we realize that, we're no different than this, that we're just like the politicians in Egypt that wanted to stop the population of the Hebrews, don't want them to gain power, that this world has been filled, even the last 5 years, with so much political power structures, people talking about ending populations, wanting to stop populations, wanting, what do they mean by that? What kind of, how are they going to get rid of all these people? We need to depopulate the earth. Well, what does that mean exactly? It's the same type of ideas. How can we, get rid of people? How can we, remove them? They're the problem. That's the issue. And so, same political stuff today. It's interesting to note how many times in the Bible, as we go through it, that the Hebrew people are going to face an incredible array of genocide. And it seems like there is what's in the human condition of the fall of Adam and Eve, the iniquity that's within us, it has given us, meaning the sin that's in us has certainly provided the potential to murder on massive scale. Massive scale. And this can happen in many ways. It can happen through war. It can happen through medicine. It can happen through different food issues. There's many different industries to where controlling populations can happen. And we just see that this is something that is part of us humans. And it's, again, a very sad part. But don't you see what in this chapter that it seems like we're really cued into the political depravity of human beings? That our political worlds haven't changed much, that we still want to oppress, and we still do it through many different means. We do it through economic means to oppress people. We do it through just out and out hatred of particular people and wanting to get rid of people. And we can do it in stealth. Hey, okay, you midwives, you guys do this, the stealth mission of genocide, and or we can out and out do it through war, of just declaring war and killing a particular group of people. So it says, so the king of Egypt called for the midwives. Why have you done this? He demanded. Why have you allowed the boys to live? It was supposed to be a stealth mission. Right, all the midwives, all the women helping the Hebrew women with their, newborn, they're giving birth. They're to deal with these children. The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, the midwives replied. They are more vigorous and have their babies so quickly that we cannot get there in time. So that was their excuse. That hey, they want to handle it themselves, man. They just deal with it. They're not. Like they don't have this procedure like the Egyptian women did of like, oh, I feel bad. I need to call my midwife. She needs to come over and da-da-da-da. And Hebrew women, man, they just hold it. They don't call anybody. They wait. And then when it's time to give birth, then they start giving birth and then they call the person. Hey, doctor, can you come over? Yeah, how are you feeling? Well, I'm giving birth right now. So there's no time. So God was good to the midwives, and the Israelites continued to multiply. And so the midwives were blessed because of this. And says they were growing more powerful. The Hebrew nation was growing more powerful, more large. People were getting scared of them. And this sounds like, again, today, right? They're everywhere. Those people are everywhere. They're going to dominate the world. They do everything. They're the problem. They become so powerful. Do you see how this works? Woo. And what was behind it? Remember, what was behind it? It was the fear of the political world, of Pharaoh. Fear of losing what? Power. Fear of losing power. When I fear losing power, what is the outcome? Control, force, and dominate. Oh, I'm losing my power at work. I'm going to have to dominate people. I'm going to have those strong talks with the people, and the people that work for me. And I got to have because I got to show them that I am really in control. Afraid of losing power. It's weird how Jesus says the greatest among you will be the what? Servant of them all. The greatest. Did Jesus usurp his power on you, on me, on the world? Did he come in and say, hey, I'm going to rule the world right now. Hey, here it is. He came and served as the suffering servant. Before his kingship, meaning before he becomes the king of the world, he comes to serve the world. Maybe before I become a ruler or anybody powerful, maybe I got to learn to just serve people like Jesus. Maybe before I become the boss, before I become the person of the top guy, maybe I need to learn how to become the greatest servant so that I know how to serve rightly. Not for a pat on the back, not for any of that. That, even though you're serving, it might seem like you're not in power. People might not look to you and say, wow, you're so powerful. Maybe they look at you as just a normal person. But maybe that's what's helping us develop the right attitude, the compassion and the mercy and the grace on people, so that if we ever are elevated to a place of power, that we know how to use it rightly. So it says, then Pharaoh gave this order to all the people, throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile River, but you may let the girls live. Wow. Okay. So Pharaoh is up in his game, and he gives the orders now. It's not a private matter, but now it becomes public. It's not just a secret, hey, let's control the population through this way. Let's have them all drink weird water. Whatever it is. Let's keep people sick so that they can keep industries going. Whatever it is, whatever way of control that seems so stealth, so underground, so hush-hush. Now Pharaoh and the politicians let it out. These are the problem. This is the people. We can't let them get over on us. And that kind of putting fear into the society through the news networks moves the public to participate in genocide. And that is a radical, I know what I've just said is a radical idea. And it's something that is, wow, it has ramifications through and through in the lives of so many people over the many, many years that we've been living on the planet. Is that when politicians go public and things get put out in the news and things become, okay, they're the problem, then you have a society that participates in massive murder. And this has happened, yes, it has happened to countries. And, I'm not going to say which countries. But if you do enough reading of history of not just our country, but countries of the world, you're going to see this, where there is this underground message of mass murder, and then it goes public, and then what drives the society to participate is fear. Fear of people taking over, fear of people running things, fear of this, fear of that. And there you go. Let's see what's going to happen. It's beautiful to live in Christ, to live for something greater, to not be of the world, of the system of the world, the oppressive power structure of the world. When the Bible says be in the world but not of the world, when we think of what is it talking about, the world? Well, this is the kind of stuff it's talking about, this world system, the way the world functions. People being powerful, people dominating, people getting over on, people envious, all that stuff, all the yuck, all the greed and domination, and the way the economics of the world works, it's different from the kingdom of God. Right? The greatest in the kingdom is going to be the servant of them all. It's a different way to go. And you got to make a decision, and I got to make a decision today. How are we going to think? Are we going to think like the world's way? Or are we going to think like the Messiah's way and become that greatest servant? And we got to deal with our fear in order to do that. Ooh, it's a big one. There's a lot of things to think about and to reflect on in our hearts today. But, it's early July. So let's start doing it. Anyway, you guys, just have a great day. And remember that when Jesus saved us, he saved us out of a kingdom of darkness and brought us into a new kingdom, a different one, with a different set of priorities, if you will. A different way of doing things, a different way of treating people. I pray that I could treat people in a way that would please God today. You guys have a good one, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.